Hey guys, welcome to the final lesson of the course. Now, I think this is the best part because we're going to add the materials and we're going to finally see how everything comes up at the end with the final render. So I'm pretty excited about this. Let's begin by creating a background here because we need a sky, of course. Now for the background, let's create a material. Now let's double click on that material and let's change the texture to a gradient. Now for the gradient, let's click on it and let's change from 2D U to vertical. And now let's change these colors. For example, instead of white, I want to use a blue, a sky blue like this one. And I want to use a lighter color here at the beginning. Don't go all white, but very pale blue. I will probably want a darker color here and at the end. Okay, let's throw this material. You can rename the materials if you want. This will be the sky material. I won't do that with everything because we're going to create a lot of materials. Now add this color to the background and let's see how it looks. And this actually looks very good. Now of course it looks a little weird with everything on gray, but we will fix that right now. Create a new material and let's begin by adding a texture material for the green part of the planet. So I'm going to open the planet and here's where we are going to add this material. You can add it right now and you can rename it as planet green. And let's begin. Open this material editor and let's begin by setting the color. I want to use a green like this. You can see it's a very pale green. I like this color. And for the Lambertian, for the model, instead of Lambertian, I want to use Ordinaire for the diffuse mode. You can see that it's like a matte effect. I like how this looks. Now let's add some luminance because I think this will work great to add some sharpness to the shadows. On texture, let's go and click on filter. Let's leave it as it is right now on a black tone, and on the mix mode let's select a multiply. You can see it's not doing too much, but it adds a little something to the shadows. Now on the reflectance part, this is the most important part because this is what it's going to give the look of clay to our material, so pay attention. Now here let's go to the default specular, and on type I want to change it to the reflection legacy as it was on previous versions of Cinema 4D. For the roughness I want to add 75% of roughness. You can see how it spreads the light. Right now we have no reflection, so I need to add 50% of reflection here, and you can see that it starts reflecting the light. For the specular I want to add 70% and the bump will stay on 100. Now for the color, I don't want it to be a reflectance white. I want it to have a little bit of the orange tone that we use for the light. Perfect. Now on the layer color tab, let's go to texture and add a filter. Now if you go inside the filter, you can choose a texture, and I'm going to use a Fresnel that you can see how the Fresnel adds the same thing, that the same noise that we had before with the roughness, but it's much more subtle. Now you can see that the preview for the default specular should look something like this. You can see it's a smooth surface but with a rough texture on it, and it looks really nice. It will add a very nice effect to our render. Now let's close this for now and let's render to see how this looks. Now you can see that it's starting to look very good. You can see how it adds some texture to our planet. Now this is just a preview. Later we will see this with the render preview, but right now it's starting to look very good. So now what we need to do is to create several duplicates of this material using this same material and just change the color. For example, for the roof of the house it could be red, for the mountains it could be a darker green, and so on. So I'm going to skip ahead so that it doesn't take too much, but just keep adding colors and duplicating the materials. Let's turn on our camera and let's see how this looks. But before we look at how this is rendering, I'm going to render settings and I'm going to turn on the ambient occlusion, because that way the shadows will look way better. Now if we are going to use ambient occlusion, I want to use also the physical render of Cinema 4D. Now let's take a look at how it looks, but let's take a look not on the with Command R, but I'm going to use the render to picture viewer. I'm going to use this and wait for it to render. Now you can see that this is starting to look very nice, but we have a long way to go to get a very nice end result for the render, but we're very good. This is a very good start. We are done with the materials. Now it's time to fix some part of the light. Now let's close this. So first let's turn on our global light. Now let's turn off the camera for now. And let's change a little bit the lights. For example, this, the orange light, we can decrease a little bit the intensity, maybe to 40%, and I'm actually going to move it a little bit to the left, because right now it was only pointing towards one part of the sea, so I want this light to spread to everything else. For the blue light, I'm going to get it farther away and also decrease the intensity to 38%. Okay, now I'm going to turn on the camera again, and now I'm going to render settings, edit render settings, and I'm going to go to ambient occlusion, and instead of on the color using a black tone, I'm going to change this and use a very dark purple, kind of like this one, so that the shadows aren't so black. Now on physical, you may have noticed that when we see the shadows were really noisy, so I don't want that, because I want it to look like actual clay or plasticine. So here on physical, on basic tab, at the end of the physical you can see ambient occlusion subdivision. Now right now it's on 2. I want it to be on 5. Now let's close this, but first let's change the shadow subdivision also to 5. That way the shadows will be smoother. Now let's close this, save your file, and let's see again how this looks on the render to picture viewer. Alright, this is it. Take a look. This looks very good. Now we fix everything. We fix the parts of the shadow. You can see that the shadows are no longer so noisy, but they look great now. So we're done with the render. Now if we want to add some cool effect to, we can go here on the same picture viewer and go to filter and click on enable filter, and we can add some filters to it. We can, for example, go down here and increase a little bit the blue and a little bit the red. Now you can see that the shadows, instead of going all black, now the shadows look more natural because they are painted like just a little bit purple, and this looks more realistic. So this looks excellent. Now if you want to save this, just go and click on File, Save As, and on this window you can choose the depth per inch, and you can also choose the format. And if you want to save it with the filter, remember to click here on Use Filter and click OK. So that's it for the course. You can see that the result is pretty amazing. This is really cool, and we model everything that you can see here on the screen. So that's very good, that's very amazing, and you can see that the result is very good looking. Now you can see that with the lights and the materials, everything changed. If we make a mistake on the lights, if we make a mistake on the materials, we won't get the same result. You can see that the material, we apply the specular, we apply the reflectance with the roughness, and take a look at how it looks on the brightest part. You can see that it looks rough. It doesn't look so sharp. It's not like the light is just flat here on the tree, but it's spreading very nicely onto the surface of the tree. So I hope that you enjoyed this course. Please make sure to leave some comments if you want, if you have some doubts, if you have some questions, something that you didn't quite understand, or if you want to create some different effect, you can leave your comments on the discussion board. And of course, I would love to see your own projects. Please create your own projects and upload them. You can use the same process that I used here, or if you want to change anything, maybe you don't like pigs, or you want to use some dogs or some sheep or a horse or anything, or you want a different car, a different house, anything that you want to change, you can change it. But please upload your project so that we can see how you are working. So thank you for joining me through this course. I hope that you enjoyed, and see you on the next one.